Hello guys, I am Technical Minecraft, also known as Andrew, and today I built this absolutely massive cycling storage system. Now, I did see Mumbo Jumbo's design on this that he posted actually a few years ago. It is more compact than mine, but I believe that mine is better just because it has a book. You can select which row you want using a book. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and go to page 3. So I have this numbered book, so it's going to cycle around 3 times. And there we go. I still have my chest contents. So I'm going to be teaching you everything you need to know about why this works and how to build it, as well as why that version over there kind of failed on me. So let's start with the tutorial. The first circuit you'll need to know is called the red coder. Now I know it's kind of ironic that I'm using blue for this, but just bear with me. So what this does is it takes the output, the signal strength output of a comparator, and it kind of processes it to give it a single output. You'll see what I mean in a second here. So first of all, coming out of the comparator, you're going to want to have redstone dust. Then underneath the redstone dust, just like this, you're going to want to put repeaters going into blocks like this. Don't break the block accidentally like I did. Then above the repeaters up here, just put more blocks. Then you put repeaters right here, same thing you did below. Then on this line right here, you put another row of redstone dust. Then finally, you have these repeaters up at the top going into blocks. Now you can start placing your redstone torches. You place a row of them right here and a row of them right here. So as you can see, if you have these torches on the top or the side, it doesn't really matter. It's the same thing, as long as you're taking an inverted input from this block. So that is the red coder all done and dusted. Now remember, you can tile this as much as you want, except up to 15, because that's the maximum signal strength the comparator can give. So I'm going to manipulate the output of this comparator, and as you can see, the output of the red coder corresponds with the comparator's output strength. And unlike the comparator's normal output strength, which let me just go ahead and get a redstone lamp just so I can show you here. I didn't mean to split it into 2 stacks there. So unlike the normal redstone comparator output, that gives you basically all these outputs up to the place where it stops, this only gives you one output at the place where it stops, which I find to be very, very convenient. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this circuit individually works. Now, you might have noticed that for each unit on this red coder, there are 2 redstone spots. Now, that is not an accident. We do need those redstone spots to know if the redstone signal strength on these blocks right here is 1 or more than 1. Because think about it, we only want the output to appear here that's 1. Because remember, redstone signal strength goes down for every block it moves, right? So this is, I don't know what signal strength that is actually, but it just goes -1, -1, -1, until it eventually hits 0. So you want to know where this 1 is right here, because that is always going to be the end of your signal, right here, as you can see. So the red coder's solution to this was to have these 2 dots up here, because if this dot was more than 1, then this dot would also be turned on. Because if this dot was more than 1, then this dot would also be powered. It doesn't matter the signal strength, just the fact that it's powered is all that matters. But if we go over here, when the signal strength is actually exactly 1, this redstone dust will not be powered. As you can see, this repeater is not being powered. So this is the solution. So let's take a look at how it actually processes things. So if this redstone dust is powered, the repeater takes an output, which turns off this torch, which turns on this torch. So that's why this torch is turned on right here, if you can kind of see. That repeater is on, which inverts this torch, turning this one on. Now, as we mentioned earlier, this redstone dust can also be on, and if that's on, then as you can see, this repeater will turn on, which powers this block, and no matter what, turns the torch on. Even if this torch down here is off, this torch will also be off because of this repeater right here. So that is how a red coder works. Now time to understand some of the other circuits. The next circuits, or the next concepts you'll need to know, are the and or functions. Now, in my video about how to make a redstone calculator, I already went over this. The logic gates are a staple of modern computing, and they are very important in redstoning. So we have here the 2 logic gates that I'm going to be using, which is called the AND gate right here, and the OR gate over here. Now, these aren't the exact designs that we're actually going to be using for our logic gates. I made different designs that work kind of with the flow of the machine, so I'm going to be showing you those after this. But for now, you just need to know what each gate does, no matter what they look like. So let's start off with the AND gate right here. It's called the AND gate because this output is only on when this input is on and that input is on. Not if one input is on, not if no inputs are on, if both. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the OR gate, which you can see is a lot simpler. This is called the OR gate because this input can be on, or this one, or just that one. But as long as one input is on, this gate is on. That's why it's called the OR gate. So this is a sort of scaled down system that we're going to be using in the actual cycling storage system, and it has both an AND gate and an OR gate. So this is the OR gate right here, these three blocks. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and put a redstone lamp on them. So let's go ahead and take a look at the AND gate, which are these inputs right here. Now, I can turn this input on as much as I'd like, which moves this block over here, but it won't work unless this torch is powered. So this input also has to be on. Same thing for all of the other systems right here. Now, as you can see, this is an OR gate because, as long as one input is on, the output is on, as you can see. So it doesn't matter which one. It could be any one of these. As long as one AND gate is on, the OR gate is on. So the next circuit you'll need to know is the hopper clock. Now, clocks in redstone are exactly the same as clocks in the real computer world, like actual CPU clocks, because what they do is they give a pulse at consistent periods of time. I hope that makes sense. So if I go ahead and take a redstone comparator here and just, I don't know, throw one item into the hoppers, as you can see, at regular intervals, this comparator will be activated. Now this is because the hoppers are facing into each other right here, as you can see. So this just causes the item to cycle around and around and around, powering this comparator, as you can see. Now, one thing you can do is power this hopper right here. Now, when you power a hopper, what it does is it makes it so it can't give or receive any items. So this hopper is locked. As you can see, the item is still in here, but it's locked. So it's not going to be giving the item to this next hopper right here, continuing this chain. Now, if I unpower the hopper, as you can see, the clock still persists. So this is a really easy clock, and this is actually the exact clock we'll be using in our actual build. The next circuit you'll need to be learning about is called the T flip-flop, also known as the toggle flip-flop. I know it has a silly name, but what it does is, when it's powered, it basically gives a constant output, a consistent output, whether that be on or off, it just gives the same output. So it actually acts a little bit like memory. Just place my last piston here. And as you can see, this is the entire... Oh, I forgot this redstone dust up here. So that's not the entire T flip-flop. This is. So as you can see, if I don't put the observer the wrong way like I did. There we go. That's the exact way the observer goes with its face looking up into the sky. Alright, this is the final completed version of the T flip-flop. So as you can see, if I press this button, this redstone block shifts right here, as you can see. Now, this T flip-flop actually is made up of a few other parts, shall I say. One part you'll need to know is called the Monostable Circuit. Now, if I just disregard this button right here, put one right here, in theory, that could work, but in practice, it's very inconsistent with what it does. So this is why we need a 1-tick pulse instead of the 10-tick pulse that this button provides. So with that, we have a monostable circuit. So as you can see, we just have a torch inverter right here. When we press this button, the torch will unpower, unpowering this piston, moving this observer back. And remember, when observers get moved, they give a 1-tick pulse, which is exactly what we want. So a 1-tick pulses this redstone right here, and then it moves right back at the end, giving this T flip-flop output. Now remember, it acts like memory, so you can press it once to turn it off, press it another time to turn it on, and it'll stay that way until it's pressed off again. So this circuit right here is the main circuit that we're going to be using, which is the piston feed tape. So there are many ways to make a piston feed tape, but the way we're doing it is with observers. So to make a piston feed tape with observers, you just make a square like this, as you can see, with as many blocks as you want, plus 3. So what do I mean by plus 3? Well, this is because we're going to be punching out 3 of the corners. Then we're going to be putting pistons like this, like this, like this. Whoop, wrong way. And like this. So as you can see, they all kind of face in a different direction right here. So now we just need to worry about powering all these pistons. So it's going to be this piston first, followed by this one, then this one, then this one, and then that's the end of the cycle. So as you can see, if this piston gets pushed right here, it'll push these blocks up, and then I want this one to be pushed too, followed by this piston right here, and then this piston. So it's all back where it started, and I'm just going to go ahead and do this once more, but with this yellow block right here to kind of show you that this system actually works and it cycles around blocks exactly like it's supposed to do. So if I just put the final button on this piston, as you can see, we had the same shape that we started out in, but this block is one block further this way. Remember, I put it right here in the middle. So that's how we know this piston feed tape is working. Now we just need to worry about powering it. So remember, the powering pattern basically starts with this piston, then it loops around to this. So we can kind of see it as a circular pattern going around, and we can make that with observers. So we're just going to be making a long observer line. So as you can see, this is going to be the very first observer right here, and it's going to be hard powering this block, which will in turn power this piston right here. But if we place redstone dust right here and an observer like this, that update will be passed on to this observer, so it can then be looped around to this one. Wrong color. I'm going to go ahead and try and use yellow for this. So then it'll go ahead and power this block right here, and once it powered that block right here, we can go ahead and put a redstone dust on top, followed by even more observers going this way, powering this block right here. And below that block, we can go ahead and put some redstone dust, or an observer with redstone dust on it, like this, with more observers on the bottom. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and put one block right here, along with one block right here, with redstone dust. So hopefully the entire system should be powered. So if I update this observer by placing a block in front of it, yep, we get that kind of fluid motion that we want. There we go. This isn't the only design for a piston feed tape. There are other designs, but this is the one that we're going to be using for our cycling storage system. Alright, so the final circuit, well, not even circuit I should say, the final concept that you need to know is that transparent blocks interact differently with redstone, so this includes stone slabs and glass. So if I go ahead and place an input right here, followed by redstone. Now, what I can do with this redstone is bus it upward, take that signal upward, by using alternating patterns of transparent blocks. Now, redstone can pass through transparent blocks with some exceptions and some rules that I'm not going to explain all of. But just know it is possible to make these towers like this to bust redstone up semi-high distances. Remember, you're still limited by signal strength. So you can actually put redstone on this block, which will then go ahead and flow to this block right here, then this block, then this block, then this block, then this block. So as you can see, if I power this lever right here, the redstone lamp will turn on. Now, this also works for other transparent blocks like glass or glowstone, and I'm just going to go ahead and show you that working right now. I think glass blocks are easier to place down than slabs, but as you can see, the glass blocks have the exact same effect. So just know that is a thing that can happen, and this is a technique that we will be using in our actual cycling storage system. So before we actually start building, let's go ahead and just take one last look at this behemoth right here. We can see all the concepts we talked about, right? We have the red coders down here, 2 of them to be exact. We have the AND gates, the OR gates, the clock, the T flip-flop, the busing redstone upward, and we also have the piston feed tape right here. So you might have recalled that in my demonstration on the red coder right here, I used an item frame, and I kept turning that item around and around and around, and that produced the signal strength that we got here. This time, I'm using a Lectern with a book, which has the same effect. Now, let's take a look at the Lectern on here and why this sort of system right here failed. Now, in my inventory, I have this kind of standard Lectern book with pages, but these pages go up to, instead of 15, 16. Why is that? So these pages only go up to, well, a certain number, but it turns out that whoever was working at Mojang at the time, and whoever was designing this redstone piece, didn't just think to, take this number right here and divide it by 2 to get your signal strength. Instead, they used some sort of weird complex calculation to do so, which I don't know why, but they did. So that has the side effect of, if I can just, there we go. So I want you to look at that top up there. You can kind of see that redstone torch poking out. I'm going to flip the page right here, as you can see. Look at that. It skips a torch. And, it keeps going after that. But the problem I have with it is that it skips a torch, which means that one of these options on the piston feed tape would be inaccessible to you. And that's not a level of quality I'm okay with giving you. So I found a pretty simple fix for that. Just add one more page. Just give it 16 pages instead of 15. So that's all you need to know. That's why when you have your Lectern book, you can have your description, you can have everything else written on this, but as long as it just has 16 pages. So just write a bunch of scribbles on one page or something like that, but just as long as it has 16 pages, you're good to go. So let's go ahead and start on this machine back here. And we're going to go ahead and start that machine with the Lectern. This is your selection Lectern, and this is what you're going to be using to select which module, which row of chests you want on that machine over there. Now, for this, we're going to need a comparator right here. Now, comparators can take outputs, signal strength outputs through blocks, so just don't worry about this block right here. That should just give it some extra breathing room. So I designed this cycling storage system to take full advantage of Minecraft's redstone signal strength by default. So we're going to go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is going to be 15 blocks long because the maximum signal strength possible is 15. That's also the number of rows of chests we're going to have. So then we just repeat that red coder pattern that I showed you in that demonstration over there with repeaters right here, along with a row of blocks on top of these repeaters, with redstone on top of these blocks. Then we have this row of blocks right here. Then on the top right here we have another row of repeaters. Then a block in which these repeaters run into right here. And then finally our row of torches right here, and our row of torches up at the top right here. Remember, this gives us a sort of decoded output, so we have 6 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th redstone torch will activate. So this is the start of our red coder that we're going to be using. So do you remember in my demonstration on the red coder about how I said as long as the torch was just on this block right here, it didn't really matter, it could be on the side or on the top? Well, we're going to need to make it on the side. Now, it doesn't really matter if you make it on the side or the top, but it does have a very slight effect in the dimensions of this entire machine. So then we're going to need to make the AND gates and the OR gates, so we're going to be starting with the AND gates. So for that, just place sticky pistons all along these torches right here. And on the faces of those sticky pistons, go ahead and place blocks. It doesn't matter which block as long as it's not transparent. Now that we place these blocks on the faces of the sticky pistons, we can go ahead and where these blocks will protrude, we can put sticky pistons right here. And on the face of all these sticky pistons, we are going to go ahead and put redstone blocks. Now for the OR gate. This is going to be very, very simple. It's just going to be one massive redstone line running all along these pistons right here. So all these redstone blocks are inputs, and as long as one input is on, one redstone block is powered, then this OR gate will be powered. So obviously we have our AND gates down here. Now this is one of the inputs to our AND gate, this piston right here, but we'll also need another input, so for that we're making another red coder. So this red coder is going to be directly mirrored to the other side, and you'll see what I mean in a second. But just know these are where the torches will be. So I'm going to go ahead and make that red coder, and I'll be back when it's done. So as you can see, this red coder has just been directly mirrored to the other side, and these are our two inputs to the AND gates, which go into the inputs to the OR gates. Now what we're going to need to do next is for this, I'll just grab my orange wool. We're going to need to find the exact center of this OR gate, which Yeah, is basically right there. We're going to need to go one up and then one down again. And this is going to be the start of our hopper clock. So on the bottom of this block right here, go ahead and just place a hopper and keep placing hoppers like I'm placing them right now. One right here. All these hoppers are going to be facing into each other to make this hopper clock possible. And we're going to break this original hopper and put one right here. So as you can see, it kind of has this flow to it. And if we put an item in it, which I will right now, go ahead and put just a random item, doesn't matter. It will cycle around this hopper clock, see? So we're just going to finish this off by putting a lever right here. Now what will this do? It'll basically stop the clock. Now remember, hoppers can be powered, so once a hopper is powered, it will be locked. So this is a user input that basically tricks the machine into thinking that it has the correct row of chests selected over here. So this is just a user input. If you ever need to do any maintenance on this machine, this is how you'll do it. You'll just go ahead and flip this switch and do whatever you need to do. Now we're going to go ahead and take an output, a comparator output from this hopper right here. But as you can see, there is a little bit of a problem. If we place a solid block right here, it will cut off this redstone, and we don't want that to happen. So instead, we're going to go ahead and put a transparent block, like a slab right there, or a piece of glass works too. And as you can see, that will not interfere with the redstone at all, and it will allow us to take that output with the comparator. So now this comparator will go ahead and run into a T flip-flop like this. So we'll start off with the monostable circuit right here, which consists of a sticky piston and an observer facing up into the sky right here. We're then going to go ahead and place 2 blocks under the sticky piston like this, followed by redstone with redstone torches on either side. Then on each side, like this, we're going to be placing a normal piston, and we're also going to go ahead and place another piston on this side. So this is the completed design for the T flip-flop. As you can see, every time the item cycles around in the hopper, this T flip-flop will activate, which will eventually update some observers in our piston feed tape. So at the end of this T flip-flop right here, you're going to take an output with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks right here, put redstone dust on all of those blocks. Then you're going to have that run into a block right here, which will run into a repeater, which will run into another block. So next we're going to go ahead and use that busing technique I taught you about that allows us to bus redstone directly upward by using transparent items. So we're going to use 5 stone slabs like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right here. We can get rid of these blocks. These were just temporary. Don't even worry about those. Then we place redstone all along these slabs over here. Then we go 1 up. Extend this block 7 out. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then on this block right here, have an observer facing directly up and place redstone on all of these blocks, including the observer right here. This observer will be running into a block with redstone dust underneath it. This redstone dust will be powering this normal piston right here. Then we're going to put 6 observers like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to go ahead and place a block right here, followed by another block right here with 2 redstone dust on that block. And we're going to put a piston facing down like this. Then you're going to have an observer right here with a 1 block space. Inside of that 1 block space, put 1 redstone dust. Then below that observer, place another observer like this. Then place a piston on this block right here, facing this way right here. Now I know it might seem weird that it's kind of coming close to this block right here, but you don't need to worry about that. Just place a redstone dust right here, followed by 4 observers, 1, 2, 3, 4. Followed by a block and another block down here, which will have the final piston like this. So this should be the sort of skeleton of our piston feed tape. So now we just take all these pistons and extend them out 12 blocks. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we do that with all of these pistons, so I'll be right back when that's done. So I'd like to clarify that with these pistons, you can actually make them shorter if you'd like than 13 blocks, but 13 blocks is the maximum you can go with this kind of signal strength, with this kind of configuration over here. So the next thing we're going to need to do is connect each piston up to make sure all of them get powered. So for the first one, this block is getting powered, which means this redstone dust will also get powered. So we're going to go ahead and extend that dust all the way out. For the second one, we can go ahead and loop this redstone line all the way over here. And then we can have dust on top of that redstone line. For this one, we're also going to be making a redstone line coming off of this block over here, so it's going to go all the way over here. And we're just going to go ahead and place redstone dust on this line. And for the final one, we actually made a little bit of the line already, so we're just going to go ahead and extend that out. Perfect. And then put redstone dust on top, and you are done with all the powering. So let's go ahead and turn on this artificial clock and see what happens. Boom, boom. There we go. So let's see if we get that motion we want. We do. So the piston feed tape is done. Now we just need to place in our chests and things like that. So the chests need to be placed in a very specific way. So you don't need to worry about this block right here. Don't put anything on this block just yet. So I'm going to show you how to place your chests. So you're going to want to place a chest above this block right here. We don't want anything in this block right here. Then we're going to go ahead and place chests all the way up here and all the way back here, skipping this block right here. Remember, skipping this block and this block. So we're just going to keep on placing chests down, skipping this block again right here. Make sure there is no chest in this block, and keep on going around and around. In total, you should have 15 chests around here. So now you're just going to go ahead and extend these chests out all the way over here. Now remember, these don't need to be chests. You can make like a furnace wall, or if you're really crazy, make like an enchanting setup with some bookshelves like back here that just don't move along with the rest of it. Now, if you're worried about the chests connecting up, don't worry about that. As soon as the machine does its first piston cycle, you'll be fine. Trust me, I already tried it back there. So once the machine does its first piston cycle, it'll break up all the chests, so you don't need to worry about any chests connecting. And if you wanted chests to connect, well, I'm sorry, that's not going to work out. You can also use barrels as a substitute for chests if you want. So once you're done with all these chests, you might have noticed that we left this space open with the comparator right here. Now this is because the machine needs to know which row of the chests that it's on. So to do that, we just put a bunch of lecterns over here, just in the same positions as the chest, one block over, and you'll be fine. So now in every single one of these lecterns, remember, place this book with 16 pages in it. As long as it's 16, you will be fine. Make sure every one of these lecterns has the book, and now we're going to go ahead and configure it to where the machine knows which row it's on. So this lectern is on page 1. We're going to put this one on page 2, this one on page 3, this one on page 4, etc., etc., until eventually we get all the way down to 15 over here. So now that you're done placing in your lecterns and putting the books in your lecterns and making sure the page number is the correct page number, you're done. You're literally done. I'm just going to go ahead and undo this clock right here. Alright, so this is the completed design. As you can see, all these chests are broken up because I did run it once off camera just to make sure this is working for you guys. So as you can see, I have the page 3 open right here, and page 3 is open right here. Now, one thing I will say is that, as you can see right here, there's page 12. Now, what you're asking the machine to do by having this page 3 open is not put page 3 over here. You're asking to put page 3 over here. So that could get a little confusing. Just make sure you write out a little description. So this is technically page 3, but on page 3 you could just write about how, oh yeah, this is for, I don't know, seeds and stuff. Even though the actual row of page 3 might have something completely different. So that's my suggestion for you on how to deal with that. So before we leave, I'm going to go ahead and explain one more time how this entire design functions. So you have your page selector right here. This obviously selects which torch will be on right here. And if this torch is on and this torch is not on, the AND gate will not be completed, which means this OR gate will not be active, which means that this clock will not be locked, which means that this clock will start activating. And every time this clock goes around, it toggles this T flip-flop, which goes up and updates this observer over here. Now, it doesn't matter whether the T flip-flop is on or off, as long as it's just changing states. That observer will detect that change and start up this piston feed tape over here. Now, once this piston feed tape reaches the desired page, or the same page right here, this AND gate will be activated, which will activate the OR gate as it's doing right now, which will lock this hopper right here, which will just stop the entire system. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more example. I'm going to ask it to go to page 7 right here. So as you can see, it'll cycle around and around kind of slowly. This is as fast as I could possibly make it, because moving a lot of entities like this, especially entities with NBT data, with inventories, is very laggy on servers, and a little bit laggy on single player worlds too. Anyway, look at this. 7, page 7 right here, page 7 right here. So this works. Now, the last thing I will say is that this is meant to fit in a corner, as you can see. So if I put a flooring kind of right here, this is meant to be a wall up here, and this is just, yeah, meant to fit in a corner. So this is going to be its own wall by itself in the finished product. Alright folks, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to make a massive cycling storage system. I do weekly tutorials like this, and pretty soon I will start making actual tutorials on how to understand redstone itself. So if you're interested in that, or if you want to see that, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you want to vote on what I do next, you can go ahead and go over to my Instagram, where I do weekly polls on what I will be doing next. My name is Andrew, also known as Technical Minecraft, and I will see you next week in the next tutorial.